Hey guys, I got John Limbocker here. He's actually hailing us from Huntington Beach, California. John works and does SEO Dominator. He's been dominating the internet before they even called it the internet. He's like the grand old man of the internet. Before they even had the internet world, there was John. So SEO Dominators. One of the things with John is he's a soft-spoken guy, but he knows his stuff. So one of the coolest things I remember, first time I met John was back, I think it was like 2008 or 9, when you were speaking up on stage on SEO, and we were at Ryan Dice's traffic conversion event. And I just remember, man, that guy knows his stuff. He's like super quiet, like E.F. Hutton, just sitting up on stage, and everybody's running their gums. But then when John talked, everybody listened. So, and I remember I got involved with John. I went through the SEO Dominators course. He taught me how to do SEO. And he started working with a lot of local businesses, and we did that for a while when I was working with local businesses. What I was taking what John was doing, and I was either reselling it or I was putting in action for my own clients and stuff like that. So, John, I think the world of you. You and I become friends over the years, and thanks for coming on the show today, man.
Oh yeah, my pleasure. I actually remember that being on stage when you were there at Ryan Dice's. Do you remember the heckler in the crowd?
I was a heckler. I'm trying to remember who that was.
Yeah, it was somebody got the microphone and they said, how do we know that you're any good? We've never heard of you before.
Sure.
Remember that?
Yeah.
And my answer
shut
to
him
it
up
was,
real quick.
I did. I asked him, who's the best diamond thief? He's like, well, I don't know. And I'm like, well, if you knew, he wouldn't be very good now, would he?
It's like, bam.
Yeah.
I'm just mic drop, hammer.
Yeah, that was pretty much the end of the heckling.
John just levitates and disappears into the crowd after that. So.
Yeah, because they were all talking about Black Hat and all the differences in that, and if you're operating in that space, in that world, you don't really want to be known.
No,
that's
you
not
don't
what you want to be known for.
No, when everybody's getting their websites slapped down that was back in the day. The Google slap was going on, and they had this Panda update and that updated and whatever it was that Google was deciding to do, and you were just up there, just kind of nodding your head, just listening to what everybody was saying, and then you're like telling everybody the truth and what was really going on. So I'll never forget that. So John,
yeah, we actually avoided all of those penalties for all of our commercial clients. Yeah. We never got caught up in any of that stuff.
One of my favorite stories that John told that day that I still remember today was how he got the water park client. I don't want to tell her name yet. I'll let you do that.
But yeah. Actually, it was one of my clients. He came to me and he did water sports equipment. And, he came to me for optimization, and I was getting all of his details, and he basically, his goal was to get all of his water sports equipment into resorts and theme parks and stuff like that, like, supplying them for rental. So I got him optimized for that. And in our annual meeting where we come together and kind of reevaluate how things are going, I said, what can we do better? What could we focus on that would make you more money? And he said, well, if I did water slides, there's a lot more money in water slides. And I'm like, wow, I didn't even know you could do water slides. I'm like, that would have been a good thing to know a year ago, so we could have made you more money. So anyway, I optimized this site for water slides. And very shortly after that, he gets a call on a Saturday. And here's this woman on the line, and she says, this is Celine Dion. And he thought it was a joke.
Did you hang up on him or something, or her?
Yeah, the guy actually hung up on him, or hung up on her rather. And she called him back. This is one of my clients. And she called him back, and she says, no, really, this is Celine Dion. And he said, well, how did you get my number? And she said, well, I Googled water park slides, and you were number one. I want a water park slide in my backyard. So she wound up flying him out to Las Vegas that afternoon, and he put $1 million water slide in her backyard. Absolutely awesome. And then he was so excited. He came back to me and he's like, I want to do water parks. And I'm like, I'm thinking, water parks? Can you even do water parks? And he said, yeah, absolutely. He says, we have the access to the cruise and everything. And that's what I want to do. And I'm like, okay. So I re-optimized his business again. And that led him to building a water park in Dubai. It was $100 million project.
Booyah! Mic drop.
Yeah. So that really, I mean, the lesson to that story is in identifying who your real ideal client is and focusing on that. I mean, he could have spent the next 20 years selling fins and snorkels, getting by, or he could sell, a couple of water parks a year and change his life. Yeah. And that's what dealing with your ideal client is all about. And most people, they go for years, and some of them never even figure it out. So big shift in business when you get that figured out.
So golden nugget. Matt Bazak says, hi, by the way, dude, you rock. So just exciting stuff we got here. So hey, Jeremiah Baker, what's going on, buddy? Barbara, how you doing? Just want to say hi, guys. The bottom line is with John, guys, is he's like a gentle giant, and he's not one of these people that goes out and says, look how cool I am and all that kind of stuff, because he doesn't need to. That's one of the things I love about John is he gets stuff done, and as well as he gets his clients results. And it's one of the best kept ninja secrets that are out there. So when anybody ever asks me about SEO, I'm like, hey, let me introduce you to John, because I'm not going to talk about it. I was like, I learned the stuff from him, but I'm like, hey, go learn from the man. I'm not going to be trying to duplicate what he does, because John stays up on this stuff too. That's the other side of it too, is when you get an expert and they live, breathe this stuff like every day, that's who you want to be working with in the field. And that's you, man. So I just want to give you props for that.
Yeah, that really comes from my community. I run this thing called the SEO Dominator Club, and I've run this since 2008. And all the members in there, we do a Thursday conference call, and they get the opportunity to bring me all their problems. Mm-hmm. So I'm seeing SEO issues. I'm seeing stuff live as it's coming through to me. And the cool thing is, talk about testing and tweaking. When they bring me the problem, I give them the solution, they implement it, and they bring it back. They bring the results back the next week. So we can see, yeah, it actually worked. So that's the benefit of having a group. It's not just me. I'm not just sitting here, guessing. We're actually doing this. We're implementing and putting that message out. So it's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. And that's
leveraging that whole group and that whole learning and implementation. It's pretty awesome.
How many Dominators you got in there now, John?
Oh, we've got, the SEO community has kind of gone down over the years. We've got about 150 in there right now. And that's down. We had over 1,000 at one point, when SEO was booming. But Google has done a pretty good job of roughing up that industry.
Yeah.
So, a lot of fallout.
And one of the things that I love about you, John, is all your business model. I mean, I called you the other day. We were chit-chatting like a little kid, all excited about this idea I had. And you're just like, you remind me of like there's these two bulls, right? You have the big bull, which is like the big bull. He's been around the block, and then you got the little bull, right? And these two little bulls are up on the mountain, or the big bull and little bull, and the little bull looks over as the big bull and he says, "I want to go down there and get these sheep," right? And the big bull looks over at the little bull and says, "Patience, son." He's like, "We're gonna walk down and take all the sheep. Right? If you run down, you'll scare them off, right?" So I told John I was all excited. And one of the things John does in his business model, he builds recurring revenue into everything that he does. And tell us a little bit more about your business model, John, and how you've been able to develop that over the years. So you've never had to worry about finding clients and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's the thing. When I first started off in this business, it wasn't even internet related. I was doing high-end commercial photography, special effects, and that sort of thing. And it was like, I got paid really well, but when the job was over, so was the cash flow. So it was a constant churn of having to get new jobs and new clients and all that. Now, those clients did repeat. Every one of my clients, a lot of them are still with me today after 30 years. But when I moved in, like 1995 is when I moved into the internet, and I was kind of forced in there because of Photoshop. Photoshop came on the scene and kind of ended the whole special effects photography industry.
Yeah.
So I looked at where I was and I said, what am I going to do next? I can either throw in the towel or I can figure out what these clients are going to need next. And it was going to be the internet. And they didn't even know about it. So a lot of them, had heard about it, but they didn't really know what it was all about. So I moved into that arena, and, back then selling a website was almost impossible because the businesses didn't have a budget for it. They knew they needed it, but there was no budget, so what I did was I offered to create websites for free for them. And in turn, they would need to host the site. Now, the hosting back then, nobody knew what it was worth. So we were charging anywhere from, $99 a month to a couple $100 a month. And that was discretionary budget. So they had access to that. So I said, look, I'll build you the site. You need it. Build it for free, but then you got to host it with me. So I started building, 2 or 3 sites a week.
That's so smart, John.
And that's how I actually got into the online space, was through developing a hosting.
And here comes the big bull down the hill.
Yeah.
Down the hill. He's going to get them all.
And then once I got, all of these websites up and running, the money just kept coming in whether I was working or not. And that was the first time ever I'd experienced that, that epiphany of, I don't really have to work anymore. It was like, I told Barb, I said, look, we're going to make the same amount of money whether we're sitting here or we're on a cruise ship. So, over the years, we've done a lot of cruises.
You guys have done a lot of cruises. I remember talking to Barb a couple months ago. I'm like, how's things going? She's like, oh, man, we got like 4 or 5 cruises picked out we're going to be doing.
Yeah. So, that really changed everything for me. Mm-hmm. That allowed me to get a lot more creative because now the pressure is off. When you're not worried about covering your bills, you can be a lot more effective.
No kidding.
The next thing I did was I went back to all of those customers that I'd built those websites for. And remember, they didn't have the budget for the website.
Yeah.
But they had budgets for other forms of advertising.
There you go.
So I went back to them and I said, okay, let me explain what you have now. Let me explain what I created for you. It's like an electronic brochure. This is what you have. You have a beautiful electronic brochure. I said, now in the real world, you'd never get a box of brochures printed and set them in the box under your desk. Now, would you? I said, the only way that brochure is going to be effective is if you take it out of the box and put it in the hands of the right people. That I can do for you, and that was search engine optimization.
Bingo.
That's how I sold it. We didn't even know what to call it back then, but they all bought it, and it worked.
So we're going to pause real quick because you just laid some huge nuggets there. Nugget. First of all, is you took something that at the time nobody even knew what the hell it was. We're talking back in like 1996, 97. Yeah. Before, I mean, I don't think I was on the internet at that point. I think barely. They didn't even have, like, Hotmail had just started up or something. Google, was it?
Google wasn't
even around.
Yahoo. It was CompuServe and AOL.
Yeah, the CompuServe, AOL, and Lord knows where those companies are right now. So John was out there blazing the path, and you made something that was, at the time, people didn't understand, and you broke it down to something very simple, which is like the trifold, folder type deal, and you made it so they could understand it, and then they were able to buy it.
Yeah, I attached the unknown to the known.
To the known. Yeah. So when people go out there and they say, no, you can't sell that, nobody's heard of it, you figure out a way how to do it.
Yeah, it's all in the communication. You figure out what is their language. If you can speak their language and you can communicate, you can resonate and you can sell.
Yeah. So John, you kind of gloss over a little bit on the sense of you were doing the photography business, and I'm sure that was one of those things you didn't have necessarily recurring revenue at the time, I'm assuming, or no?
No, it was, I had clientele, and the clients would use me over and over whenever they had a need. They would never go to anyone else once they worked with me.
Yeah.
But they didn't have a constant need. It was like, they might have something they needed today, and then it might be 3 months from now. It might be 6 months from now.
Yeah. So another thing right there, guys, I don't know if you picked up on it, is John and I have been friends for almost 10 years now. And, we're always chit chat here and there, and at the same time, John's had customers for over 30 years or something like that, that he's developed business relationships with. Somebody who has relationships, if you're working with somebody in business and they don't have a past record of friends or people they've been in the business with for at least 6 months, you want to start to kind of ask yourself the question of like, who is this person I'm dealing with? And I've made the mistake in the past of working with somebody that, I saw those trends and I thought, oh, well, they won't do that to me, and I've had a lot of clients that have been friends of mine that have said similar things. They're like, oh, that person would never do something like that to me. And I'm just kind of like, that's just a disclaimer, guys. When you're out there, you're looking to work with somebody, look at their track record. And John, your track record just speaks for itself. Because I know we could go on all day about the results of your clients and what you've actually been able to do for them. What was your mindset though, John, when you were starting a whole new industry? People didn't even know what the internet was. And like, I can see you, you're sitting there, where were you at that point in your life and what were you doing? And when you looked at Barb and you came to the conclusion that, hey, I'm going to start this internet thing. I mean, did people look like you had two heads? I mean, like,
oh yeah.
Yeah. Tell me about what that was. Because
you bet they did. And it was out there, but I got to tell you, when I saw it, and I knew at the time, I knew nothing about computers. I literally knew nothing about computers at all. I didn't even know how to turn one on. So here I go from this, I was in a high-tech industry, with digital, or not digital, it was photography, and it was special effects. So I was dealing with some pretty high-end stuff, but not computerized. There was no digital stuff back then. It was a different era. We were talking laying down special effects on film, which that was like magic back then.
Yeah.
It was like a career. It was like a highly sought after career. Very few people knew how to do it. And it was like I had a gold mine. But I literally, when I saw Photoshop come on the scene, a couple of my clients were using that. And I'm like, oh my God, it was like I saw the writing on the wall. It's like, this ride is about to come to a tragic end for me. And, at the time, I started looking around for what's next. What are these clients going to need next? Because I know I have a great relationship with them and they'll buy anything that they need from me if I can provide it. And that was when I came across the internet. I started researching and figuring out everything I could figure out about it. And I swear, when I wrapped my head around it, it was like I was looking at a crystal ball. I could literally see the future. I'm like, this is the way business is going to be done. And I want to be there. It was like a case of, I know the train's coming. All I got to do is lay down on the tracks and I'm going to get run over. And that's what it was. It was like that. But like you said, there was a lot of people telling me, I don't know what you're doing. Don't put all your eggs in that basket. And
people aren't going to buy stuff online, right?
Oh yeah, I heard it all.
No credit cards online. People aren't going to do that.
Yeah, and here I'm recently married, and I even had a chat with my my new father-in-law at the time, and he knew I was in a very solid position, making good money, and he was very leery about this whole thing. He's like, I think you're putting a lot of effort on a fad here, and I just it didn't affect me because I knew. It didn't matter what anyone else said. I knew the truth, and I knew where it was going. And it didn't affect me one bit. I did hear it, but I didn't let it in because I knew better.
Where did you get the mindset around that to be able to forge through? Everybody else is telling you run this way, but you're running the opposite direction.
I think that came from my dad. My dad always told me, and I don't know if this was his way to try and keep us kids off drugs or what have you, but he always used the example of if we ever did anything that was wrong and we had to explain that to him, and we used the excuse of, well, Bobby did it or Billy did it, he said, well, tell me this. If Billy was going to jump off a cliff, would you follow him? you know? So he was really teaching us to use our own head and make our own decisions, whether, you know, regardless of what anyone else was going to do. And I think that's where it came from.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
So I got that message as a very small child, and it was reiterated time after time. Every time I got in trouble, you know, I'm going to try and blame it on someone else. And that's what it came back to was, you know, if they were going to jump off a cliff, would you jump off with them?
Did you jump off any cliffs?
I never jumped off a cliff. No. Never took that plunge.
So John, what's some of the secret ninja stuff that you might be able to share with some of the listeners right now that want to use search engine optimization for their business?
Well, search engine optimization has taken a big turn over the last couple of years, and this is Google's way of really taking out the trash. They came up with a new algorithm, and it's based on artificial intelligence, and it's called RankBrain. Mm-hmm. And what it's doing, it's keeping score of user interaction. So they've actually moved to looking at how the users interact with a site to base whether the site is quality or not. So the best thing that you could possibly do right now for your websites, if you want to rank in the search engines, is provide a good quality user experience. And what that means, some of the factors that they look at is click-through ratios. And, you know, for those of you that don't quite get that, that's how many people will click on your listing when they see it in Google. Like they type in a search result and you show up on the page. How many people click on you versus clicking on the other ones? That's your click-through ratio.
Got it.
If 30 out of 100 click on you, that's a 30% click-through ratio. So the higher your click-through ratio is, the more trust value you'll get and the more you'll rank in the search engines.
Wow.
So one of the things that you can do to increase that click-through ratio is make sure you understand your ideal clients and make sure that in your title you put a call to action that makes sense to them. You know, speak their language, in other words. Know what's important to them and communicate that. And that will get your click-through ratios up. Now, on the other side of that, Google watches this experience all the way through. So once they click, if you send them to a page that doesn't resonate with them and they hit the back button, that's called a bounce, and that can hurt you. If your bounce rate is too high, that's a signal to Google that people didn't get what they wanted. And think about it from Google's perspective. If Google's sending people places they don't want to go, Google itself is providing a poor user experience, and they will prevent that at all costs.
Absolutely.
So they do not want to send traffic to websites that are not quality.
Yeah, so if you try to trick somebody with some headline and they get there and it's not what they want, they're leaving, you're going to get more
right.
faster.
That's absolutely right.
Wow.
So all the way through, you have to provide a good quality user experience. You know, once they hit your site, it's how long do they stay on your site? How many pages deep do they go? Do they come back? Do they bookmark it and return? Do they search? How do they find you? You know, do they know your brand? Do they know to search for your brand and then click through from that? Those are all signals that you have a recognizable brand that's quality and people like it.
Wow.
So that's really what search engine optimization has become these days. It's become user experience.
It's a lot further from buying a bunch of links at link farms back in the day.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, links are still important. Links will get you noticed to begin with, but links won't hold you there. The user experience is what will lock you in and keep you at the top forever.
Okay. So the longer people are on the website looking at your stuff, consuming your content, Google watches their time on your website and then they determine.
Exactly. Yeah, I predicted this back in 2011, which was probably 3 or 4 years before it actually started to come into play.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I spoke at Glacier Kennedy, and I told them this was the next thing that's coming. I told them to prepare for it. And, you know, a lot of the people that were following me and prepared for it, they actually went up. You know, when Google changed direction and started going that way, they were already positioned for it, and they outranked a lot of their competitors right out of the gate just because of that.
Mm-hmm.
So
So
That's
one of
the
the
way
books
to.
one of the books I would say, John, that comes to mind as you sit here and talk is, you ever read that book, Who Moved My Cheese?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah. John, you're like that. In the book, so you guys haven't actually read Who Moved My Cheese. It's a good read, probably under 100 pages. Very quick read. The synopsis of it is there's 4 types of mice, and there's 2 mice that venture out, and they're like gone as soon as they know the cheese isn't going to be there anymore. They've already figured out this cheese is going to dry up, and then you go find other cheese. John's that mouse you didn't even see because he already even saw it 10 steps ahead of everybody else. That's you, brother.
Yeah, you know, I'm sure you're familiar with Wayne Gretzky, right?
Oh yeah, that's great.
Greatest hockey player there ever was. Well, his methodology is very similar to mine in SEO, the way he plays hockey. He says if you're playing hockey, if you're playing the game where the puck is, you're playing in the past. You have to play to where the puck is going to be if you want to win. And that's the same thing with SEO. You've got to know where it's going if you want to win the game. Mm-hmm. So very similar methodologies.
John's all about winning the game. Now, John, I know you got a pretty awesome event planned that you're bringing the ACT process out. Can you tell everybody a little bit more about what that is and how they can learn more about going to your event?
Sure. Yeah, the ACT program. This is a program I've recently developed to help small business owners, because one of the things I've recognized over the last few years was the small business owners were missing a piece, and that piece happens to be the conversion piece. You know, you see everybody's getting websites and everybody's trying to drive traffic, but the thing that they're missing is how do you convert that traffic from a prospect into a paying customer? They didn't have that piece. They were missing that. And, you know, that's a piece that ad agencies have used for over 100 years. But the thing with the small businesses is if you don't have the money, if you don't have the deep pockets to go and hire an ad agency to make that conversion happen for you, you just kind of are left in this hole where you struggle and you can't get out of it. So that's what I did. I took that formula and I broke it down and I created a 3-step process called the ACT system. And what that is, it's how to effectively identify your market, create a marketing message, and then drive the right traffic to it so you can actually make money online. And we call it the triad formula. And it's, like I said, it's been used in ad agencies for over 100 years. When you trace it back to where it really came from, it actually, I don't know if he developed it, but we went as far back to see that Benjamin Franklin was using it.
That's pretty far back.
Yeah, that's pretty far back. That was the first case I could see where it was actually being used. And it works just as well today as it did back then.
Wow.
And it really is the formula for success. And that's the ACT program, and that's what we've put together. So this way, when people come to me and they want me to drive traffic for them, I know they're going to be successful. If they're operating on the ACT premise, I feel good about driving traffic to them. And if they don't have a website that converts, I won't even take them on as a customer because I know I can't help them. I could drive them a boatload of traffic, and if they can't convert it, what good does that really do for them? 100%. So I would prefer not to do that. I would rather have them spend their money somewhere else, and
or go lose it somewhere else. In other words,
exactly. Go to Vegas.
Go to Vegas. You have better luck.
That's right.
Odds are in your favor. So that's such a key note. There's a lot of people out there that have beautiful looking websites or have different stuff that's out there, but they haven't really thought through the marketing process behind doing that. And they end up not getting results. And they're wondering like, oh, this advertising stuff, it doesn't work. Or my SEO company, they don't know what they're doing. Or my social media company, they don't know what they're doing. And my Facebook ads, they're just not working. I was like, if they don't have an offer that actually converts in the first place, it's of course not going to work. If people fall in love with the product, or they fall in love with their own service, and they negate the fact that they need to find out there's other people out there that want to buy it.
Yeah, that's right. You've got the first part of ACT, really, it takes them to a profitable market. You've got to identify first if you have a profitable market. If you don't have a profitable market, or you don't have a market that's large enough to sustain the sales that you need to do, then, you're kind of barking up the wrong tree. And I see a lot of mastermind groups. I see a lot of people that are getting assistance, and they basically have a lot of cheerleaders cheering them on to jump off a cliff.
Jump off that cliff, guys.
And I prefer not to jump off the cliff without a parachute. So, that's where the ACT program starts. It makes sure that, if you're going to jump off the cliff, you know what you're doing, and you're going to survive the fall.
You got a hang glider there, just fly.
That's right. That's right. If you got a hang glider, then you go ahead and jump. But if you don't even have a parachute, come on, let's look at this realistically. So that's the first step is finding that, and then creating an avatar. And everybody jumps to avatar first, which you cannot develop an avatar unless you're developing it on a sizable, profitable segment of the market. That really is the key component, and that's the first principle we teach in ACT, is you have to segment down the market to a profitable segment. And then you build your avatar out of there. And when you build your avatar out of there, you understand their wants, their needs, their emotions, and their beliefs. And then, and only then, can you craft a message that will become an irresistible offer. If you do that right, your marketing will make your sales superfluous. That means that if your marketing is right, you won't have to try and sell anything. They'll want to buy from you.
Boom.
So
John,
that's
how you're going to do
it's done.
I know you can't spend, I'm not going to take up all day, because we could ask you questions all day about this stuff, and you talk for the next 20 years. But the question I have for you is, how can people get to know you better? How can people get to that event where they can actually get in front of you, spend some time with you, and really dive deeper into this process?
Sure. Well, you can find me at my site at internetdominators.com, and you can learn more about the ACT program under the Education tab. You'll see the ACT Success System under there, and you can go on and learn a little bit more about it and how to get involved in the program. And our first actual live event is coming up May 25th and 26th, and that's going to be in Orange County. And that event is only available for people that are in the ACT program. So if you want to get involved and you want to be there at that live event, that event is purely for implementation of the ACT program into your business. So you got to be in the program, you've got to be active going through it, and then you come to the 2-day live event, and it's hands-on. It's basically a workshop type event where we're figuring out your market segment. We're making sure that you've got your avatar right. We're crafting your message. We're crafting your offer, and then delving into which traffic sources are right for you. Because not all avatars are in all traffic sources. If you have a younger crowd, they're not necessarily on Facebook like you might think they are. They're going to be more on Snapchat or somewhere like that. So you've got to really, focus. The whole thing, ACT is a step-by-step methodical process that is based on strategy, not tactics. The tactics are brought in for the strategy. But the business model itself, ACT teaches you strategy. So many times I see people going to events and they're buying tactics, but they don't have a strategy to attach it to. And the tactics might be great. There's great programs out there. But if it's not attached to a strategy, I don't care how good it is, it's probably not going to work for you. So ACT is all about getting the strategy right, and the strategy will dictate what tactics you need to implement. Mm-hmm. So that's what the live event's going to be all about.
And the key thing you said there, I know we talked about it, is guys, the stuff that you buy and stuff like that and goes on your shelf help, right? It's exactly that. It's going to sit there. It's not going to make you money until you put it into action. And this event is all about John, you're giving the people the material ahead of time. I know your passion is like, you just want to see these people succeed. At the end of the day, you just do this for free if you could, but you can't do it for free. John, if you took on a personal client, you're like, what would you charge right now for doing like SEO for somebody like a Slay and Dion type of client where they would go out there and spend 2 days to work on their campaign? Like, what would you charge somebody like that?
On private clients like that, I'm $1,000 an hour.
Yeah. And you're going
So,
to spend 2 days with people, giving all your knowledge, just pouring all your heart out to help these people.
yep, that's it. They get everything I've got.
Yeah.
And actually, they get beyond what I've got, because I have coaches and mentors and people that I work with, and they're actually part of the ACT program. When they saw me put this together, they all wanted to be a part of it. So inside there, we also have an ability to move up into an apprenticeship program. And in the apprenticeship program, you actually get to work with all of those people. It's not just me. Like, we've got people that are specialists in each piece of this, and you get all of them as an apprentice program. This is like people that are doing what you want to do at a very high level. So it's not a mastermind group. It's not going in.
Action group.
Yeah, it's an action group. We're there to make things happen. So that's
people are coming in with their businesses. They've already had their homework done. They're showing up, and you guys are just like, get your running shoes on. We're going to go.
Yep. This is all about implementation. And one of the things in there, we've created a thing called the 100K Club. And the first part of ACT is all about getting you from 0 to 100K, using the ACT program. And one of the things about it, the way we've even crafted our offer, we've used ACT to craft our own offer. And this blows people's mind. The ACT program, it's a $2,000 program. It's $1997. And the way we crafted the offer was a results in advance guarantee. So it's broken into 2 payments. You pay $497 to get in, get access to everything. You don't pay the second payment until you've actually made your first 100,000 with the program. Mm-hmm. So it's a phenomenal offer. It's a results in advance guarantee. And when you hit the 100K mark, you actually, in our community, you get a badge that you're a 100K club member. As a 100K club member, you are now qualified to be a coach, to coach others to help them get to that status. So,
how many 100K club owners have you started? I know this is pretty recent.
This is a new program. So the only 100K club members I have are my customers that I've worked with over the years, and I've got a lot of them.
Yeah, you got a lot of those.
But this is a brand new program. So the first ones, this is going to be like an elite group that we're creating right now. So, the first opportunity to get in on it, is right now. And I have something, I haven't told anybody about this, but this is going to be a drop the mic thing. I actually have, and I know you're probably familiar with this because you're familiar with gold, right?
Yeah.
I've got a gold-plated bar of $100,000 bill.
Wow.
And I'm going to give that to the first one that hits the 100K club.
Oh, man. That's a mic drop. John's giving away a $100,000 gold bar. You heard it here. Holy cow.
That's it. I've got it, awesome, and that's going to go to the first one.
That's awesome. Always giving back. The irresistible offer.
Yeah, you got it.
You just give this stuff away if you could, right?
I would. It's awesome. I love it.
I know John's a big giver. One of the things that me and John have stayed in touch with over the years is pretty much every year he's contacting me, or Barbara's contacting me. Hey, Barbara, about doing giving back to the Marines with donating toys for tots. And one of the things John's done in the past is he'll literally offer his consulting services, and you guys would take the money from doing that, and it was a special offer. Hey, come spend some time with John, and I'm going to take that money. We're going to go buy toys. And you would fill up like a freaking tractor trailer full of toys. And then I remember I seen the pictures with the Batmobile. I heard Barb said you sold it. But yeah, you fill that thing up and drive that thing, and that was freaking cool, man. So
it was awesome. Yeah. The offer that I made last time was, I said anybody that donates $1,000 or more for the toy drive would get me for a full day of consulting. So I basically I gave myself out there, and we had 3 takers, so we had $3,000 donated. That was just from the big donors. We had all kinds of other donations. And when the Marines came out to do the toy drive and to pick up the toys, We actually filled the entire truck, and they had to send a second truck.
Wow.
They said we collected more toys than any of the big corporations in Orange County.
Bam.
So it was pretty awesome. That was really cool.
That is super cool.
Yeah.
Guys, it doesn't get any more better than John Limbocker, guys. Seriously, love you, John. I won't want to take any more time, but get a hold of John, Internet Dominators Online. Okay, get to the program. And John, it's just crazy the amount you're charging for the program. I didn't want to say, but for basically for $497, they could go to the program coming up here with you in May. They can get all the advanced materials. They're going to get access to you. You're doing calls with them on a regular basis. And on top of that, they get an opportunity to win a $100,000 gold bar, right? By getting after it. Just by doing what they're supposed to be doing. They hit 100K anyway. That's it.
It'll be worth it to me to get that first testimonial.
Yeah.
I am so excited to get that first one across the finish line, because I know that's just the beginning. They're going to come across there in groves after that.
And so I mean, if you're a coach out there, so let's say I've got a coach and they've got a program, let's say it's a $5,000 program, and they go out and sell $100,000 worth of their services online, and they can show you they've done $100,000 from the stuff they learned from you, from going to the program. You're going to give that person a $100,000 gold bar.
Yep.
Oh my gosh, that's insane. I hope you guys are listening to this, man, because John is just giving away the farm here. It doesn't get any better than John Limbocker. John, I appreciate you coming out today. Guys, get to the event. I can't stress it enough. John, I appreciate you, brother.
All right. I really enjoyed being here, and thanks for having me.
Absolutely, man. Bye.